Despite being members of the same royal family, Princess Anne and Princess Diana were never particularly close. Their contrasting personalities set them apart, Anne, steadfast in her commitment to duty, and Diana, guided by deep emotions. This distance between them led to years of speculation and rumors. However, decades later, an astonishing discovery has come to light, an undisclosed letter between the two. What could have prompted Diana to reach out to Anne? Was it a warning, an earnest appeal, or a confidential message the royal family wished to keep hidden? Join us as we unveil the lost letter from Princess Diana to Princess Anne. It was an icy morning in early 2024 in Essex, England. Inside a prestigious auction house, auctioneer James Parker's hands trembled slightly as he carefully unsealed an aged, dust-covered box. Over the course of his career, he had handled countless rare and valuable artifacts, but nothing quite like this. Among a collection of old documents, he found personal letters penned by the late Princess Diana, heartfelt thank you notes and messages filled with warmth and sincerity. While each of these letters held historical significance, one stood out from the rest, a sealed envelope addressed specifically to Princess Anne. For 26 years, this letter had remained a well-kept secret, stored away in a private collection since Diana's tragic passing in 1997. Unlike many of her other letters, which had been publicly shared, published in newspapers, or auctioned, this particular message had never been opened. The envelope, an elegant shade of cream, bore Diana's personal royal letterhead, and her graceful handwriting was as pristine as the day she had written it. As news of the remarkable find spread, historians and royal experts rushed to Essex, eager to examine this extraordinary relic. Among them was Dr. Sarah Matthews, a respected historian who had dedicated years to studying Diana's correspondence. She immediately noticed something striking. While most of Diana's letters bore signs of wear and fading due to frequent handling, this one was in immaculate condition, as if it had been sealed just yesterday. Adding to the enigma was the letter's unusual journey. It had passed through the hands of 3 different owners but had never been opened. The most recent custodian, retired banker Thomas Henderson, had acquired it in 2001 from an unnamed source, an individual who had reportedly been closely connected to the royal family. Why had this letter remained hidden for so long? Upon further examination, experts made another astonishing revelation. The envelope bore a small red wax seal, imprinted with Diana's personal crest. Unlike the official royal seal she commonly used, this particular mark was reserved for her most private and significant messages. Its presence signaled that whatever lay inside carried profound importance. The contents of Diana's letter proved to be even more remarkable than its history. Written in early 1997, just months before her untimely accident in Paris, the letter was neither a plea nor an expression of sorrow, but rather a calm and insightful reflection on the future of the monarchy. Diana spoke of the inevitable transformations she believed the royal family would undergo, changes that, at the time, seemed distant but have since become reality. She foresaw the increasing influence of the media and the challenges this would impose on her young sons, Prince William and Prince Harry. However, the most unexpected revelation within the letter was Diana's direct appeal to Princess Anne. Though their relationship had been notably distant, Diana's words conveyed admiration and trust. She acknowledged their differences but also praised Anne's resilience, loyalty, and unwavering commitment to the royal family. Then, in a shocking request, Diana asked Anne to look after William and Harry should anything happen to her. The timing of this request added another layer of significance. In early 1997, Diana was deeply involved in humanitarian efforts, particularly in the global fight against landmines. That year, she made headlines worldwide by courageously walking through an active minefield in Angola, an act that unsettled some powerful figures. Her letter hints at a sense of unease, as though she suspected danger ahead. Yet, despite this, she remained resolute in her mission. Dr. James Bennett, another royal historian, was struck by Diana's foresight. She had accurately predicted the struggles the monarchy would face, the delicate balance between tradition and modern expectations, the constant tug-of-war between personal privacy and public duty. In many ways, she had foreseen the very issues that would shape the royal family's future. Despite the global fascination with this discovery, Buckingham Palace has remained silent, further fueling speculation. Handwriting experts who have scrutinized Diana's letters from 1997 confirm that the paper, ink, and script are an undeniable match. At present, the letter is being meticulously preserved in a secure archive at the British Library, where scholars continue to analyze its authenticity and significance. Yet, regardless of ongoing studies, one fact remains clear: this revelation has reignited discussions about Diana's legacy and her relationship with Anne. While many believed the two princesses had little connection, this letter suggests that, in her final months, Diana placed a rare and unexpected trust in Anne. It stands as more than just a historical document, it is a glimpse into Diana's final thoughts, her unwavering love for her sons, and her deep understanding of the challenges the monarchy would face long after her departure. Even more than 2 decades later, the royal family continues to grapple with the very challenges Diana foresaw. Her words remain as powerful as ever, resonating through time as William and Harry walk divergent paths in life. Diana's final message endures, a call for change within the monarchy, a warning about the relentless power of the press, and a reflection of a future she seemed to have envisioned before anyone else. But what led Diana to write to Anne in the first place? What deeper truths did she anticipate? Let's uncover more about Diana's final letters. In the spring of 1997, something about Diana shifted, a change so subtle yet profound that those closest to her noticed immediately. Her secretary observed a newfound urgency in her habits. Diana, always meticulous with her letters, began writing more frequently, her once flawless handwriting appearing hurried as if time was running out. Ken Williams, a former royal protection officer who worked closely with Diana during her final months, recalled her increasing unease. She often stayed up into the early hours, writing furiously. At dawn, Williams would sometimes find her still seated at her desk, surrounded by sealed letters. These were not her usual thank you notes or casual correspondences, these were deeply serious messages, filled with warnings, secrets, and what seemed like final instructions. Her trusted butler, Paul Burrell, received one such letter in which she alluded to dark forces around her. Burrell, who had served both Diana and Queen Elizabeth II, had a unique perspective inside the royal household. Another chilling letter sent to her close friend Lucia Flecker de Lima referenced powerful figures who wanted her silenced. However, her letter to Princess Anne stood apart from the rest. Written on official Kensington Palace stationery, it unveiled a contemplative, almost prophetic side of Diana. She wrote candidly about the shifting traditions within the royal family, emphasizing that William and Harry needed the freedom to shape their own futures. Patrick Jeffson, Diana's former private secretary from 1988 to 1996, later revealed that, despite their differences, Diana had observed Anne for years. She admired Anne's ability to balance royal duty with personal authenticity, an aspect often overlooked by others. Through this letter, Diana extended an olive branch, expressing a level of trust in Anne that few had ever suspected. Diana possessed a profound understanding of the challenges her sons would inevitably encounter. She reflected on the rigid expectations of royal life, the relentless scrutiny of the media, and the constant demand to maintain an image of perfection. These were not merely the concerns of a devoted mother, they were forewarnings from someone who had endured these pressures firsthand. Diana's sister, Lady Sarah McCorquodale, later confirmed that Diana had expressed similar apprehensions within their family circle. Diana foresaw that whether the monarchy embraced it or not, change was on the horizon, and she feared her sons would find themselves caught in the midst of this transformation. What made this letter even more astonishing was Diana's unique request. She did not ask Anne for conventional protection, instead, she sought understanding. Diana wished for Anne to support William and Harry, guiding them through royal life while ensuring they retained their individuality. It was an unconventional appeal, but in many ways, Anne, who had always forged her own path within the royal family, seemed like the ideal person for this role. The letter also delved into Diana's humanitarian work, particularly her efforts to eradicate landmines. She described her visits to Angola and Bosnia, expressing how this mission gave her a sense of purpose beyond her royal title. Yet, she recognized that her activism had also made her a target. By involving herself in politically sensitive matters, she had provoked powerful figures. Jenny Bond, a former BBC royal correspondent, later emphasized the significance of this period in Diana's life. A particular trip to Angola in early 1997 stood out vividly in her memory. Diana had reached a pivotal moment, she had relinquished her royal title but had discovered something far more valuable: her voice. She was no longer merely a princess, she had evolved into a global force for change. However, with influence came risk. In her letter to Anne, Diana admitted she felt watched, noting the presence of unfamiliar cars trailing her and eerie silences during phone conversations. Despite these unsettling experiences, she did not convey fear. Instead, her words carried the tone of someone preparing for the worst, just in case. Diana's final words to Anne were not steeped in fear or regret. Instead, she wrote with optimism, hope that the monarchy could evolve, hope that her sons could find true happiness, and hope that even distant relationships within the family could strengthen. She ended her letter not as a royal, but as a mother entrusting Anne with the well-being of her beloved boys. At the bottom of the page, she included a brief yet impactful note: "Time will prove me right." Looking at the present, her words seem eerily prophetic. William continues to balance duty and personal freedom, while Harry has chosen to step away from royal traditions altogether. Diana had seen it all coming. However, Diana and Anne's relationship had not always been smooth. What had caused the divide between these two formidable women? And how did a seemingly minor disagreement at a royal christening permanently alter their dynamic? To understand, one must examine the ongoing conflict between tradition and transformation within the royal family. During the early 1980s, two princesses resided within Buckingham Palace, yet their lives and perspectives were strikingly different. Princess Anne, the Queen's only daughter, had long embraced her royal duties, diligently attending hundreds of official engagements annually. Unlike some of her relatives, she never sought the limelight. Her days were consumed by charitable endeavors, military functions, and diplomatic meetings, essential obligations, though ones that rarely made front-page news. Lady Pamela Hicks, a close family insider and cousin of Prince Philip, admired Anne's commitment. She recalled how Anne would rise early, meticulously review important documents, and traverse Britain to fulfill her responsibilities. For Anne, duty was an intrinsic part of her identity, not something that required acknowledgement or praise. Then came Diana. The young Princess of Wales introduced a new era of warmth and emotional connection within the royal family. While Anne remained steadfastly dedicated to tradition, Diana's effortless charm captivated the public. She broke protocol by embracing children, displaying raw emotion in public, and openly expressing affection. Former royal correspondent James Milton noted how this shift transformed the monarchy's image. Suddenly, Anne's tireless dedication, such as inaugurating hospitals and visiting schools, went largely unnoticed. Instead, the media obsessed over Diana, documenting every change in her attire or hairstyle. Beneath the polished appearances at official events, tensions between the two women quietly simmered. In family photographs, Anne and Diana rarely stood close, and their interactions remained distant. Their approaches to royal life were simply incompatible. Anne adhered to the long-standing principle of maintaining silence and never offering explanations, even during personal challenges such as divorce. In contrast, Diana chose to openly discuss her struggles with mental health and eating disorders, making the royal family appear more relatable to the public. The real fracture in their relationship emerged in 1982 with the birth of Prince William. According to royal tradition, Anne was expected to be his godmother, especially given that Prince Charles had already been named godfather to Anne's son, Peter. This appointment would have symbolized unity within the family. However, Diana broke with convention, selecting godparents based on personal kindness rather than seniority within the royal hierarchy. The decision sent shockwaves through the family, and Anne, in particular, took it as a personal affront. When Prince Harry was born 2 years later, history repeated itself, and was once again overlooked as a godmother. Lady Susan Hussey, a close confidant of the Queen, later disclosed the depth of Anne's disappointment. To Anne, this exclusion was not merely about being left out, it felt as though Diana was rejecting everything she represented: duty, tradition, and the royal way of life. And conveyed her disapproval in a subtle yet unmistakable manner. On the day of Harry's christening, rather than attending the ceremony, she chose to go hunting on her estate. Her message was clear: if Diana could break with tradition, so could she. From that moment, the rift between them widened. Anne doubled down on her commitment to royal responsibilities, while Diana sought independence and became increasingly vocal about her beliefs. Though they maintained a civil demeanor at family gatherings, their bond remained distant. Despite their differences, Diana and Anne shared one crucial similarity: they both sought to remain true to themselves in a world that expected royal women to be seen but not heard. However, they pursued this goal in vastly different ways. While the public perceived their relationship through headlines and formal engagements, the reality was far more nuanced. At the outset of her royal journey, Diana struggled to navigate palace life. In another world, perhaps she and Anne might have been allies. But how did Anne's dismissive attitude influence the Diana that the world would later revere? Before she became the adored people's princess and before the heartbreak that defined her later years, Diana Spencer was merely a 19-year-old trying to adapt to a world of ancient traditions and unspoken expectations. In the summer of 1981, just weeks before her marriage to Prince Charles, she wandered through the grand halls of Buckingham Palace, attempting to grasp the complexities of royal etiquette. Determined to integrate seamlessly, she devoted hours to perfecting her curtsy, practicing formal speech, and memorizing protocols. She yearned to be accepted, to feel like she belonged. However, despite her best efforts, not everyone welcomed her with open arms. At formal dinners, Diana tried to engage in conversations, carefully choosing her words as she had rehearsed, yet acceptance remained elusive. Princess Anne, the sister of Prince Charles, displayed little reaction to Diana, acknowledging her presence only with brief nods while keeping her attention fixed on her plate. Her aloof demeanor was more hurtful than outright disapproval. Lady Elizabeth Anson, the Queen's cousin, observed these tense moments and later noted how Diana had an extraordinary ability to brighten up any room. However, in the presence of Anne, that radiance seemed to fade, as if the warmth within her was slowly being extinguished. It was akin to watching a flower retreat into itself in the biting cold. As time went on, members of the palace staff began noticing subtle yet profound changes in Diana. The once lively and carefree young woman started exhibiting signs of increasing anxiety before royal engagements. She would meticulously rehearse protocols over and over, desperately striving for perfection to avoid any misstep. Despite her efforts, Anne's cold detachment remained unshaken. One evening in 1982, former royal chef Darren McGrady stumbled upon Diana alone in the palace kitchen, silently weeping. She whispered, unable to comprehend what she had done to warrant such treatment. As her marriage to Prince Charles began crumbling, so too did her sense of security within the palace. The very walls that had stood witness to centuries of royal history now felt more like a confining prison. Diana struggled with an eating disorder, yet when she sought assistance, she was met with silence. Royal correspondent Richard Kay once remarked that the palace's architecture itself reflected its emotional climate: long, desolate corridors, doors perpetually closed, and an unspoken expectation that personal battles should remain concealed. Vulnerability was perceived as a sign of weakness. Anne's response to Diana's struggles underscored this divide. When Diana was unable to attend events due to her ongoing battle with bulimia, Anne reportedly commented that duty must never be disrupted by illness. This stark contrast between the two women became evident. Anne embodied stoicism, unwavering and composed, while Diana embraced her emotions, unafraid to express her pain. By 1990, Diana had devised her own means of coping. She found solace among junior staff, created small pockets of personal refuge, and even employed royal protocols to shield herself when necessary. However, this adaptation came at a cost. She later confided in close friends that in the process of conforming, she had lost integral pieces of herself. Her cousin Sarah Spencer once disclosed that Diana maintained a diary during those formative years, within which she likened herself to an actress performing in a grand play, except that she alone was unaware of the script. She never viewed Anne as an adversary but rather as someone she had wished would guide her through the daunting world of royalty. For years, these untold stories remained locked within the palace walls, but a recently uncovered letter from Diana to Anne now offers fresh insight into her final attempt to bridge the emotional chasm between them, one that had shaped their lives in ways neither could have foreseen. Years later, as Diana's sons carved their own paths, the truth of her struggles could no longer remain hidden within the palace's confines. Many of Diana's predictions about the future of the monarchy have since proven to be remarkably accurate. In 2024, Prince William and Prince Harry lead vastly different lives, just as their mother had foreseen. Observers of the royal family continue to be astounded by the precision of her foresight. A letter she penned to Princess Anne in the final months of 1997 does not come across as a desperate plea but rather as a meticulously outlined vision of the future, one that has since unfolded exactly as she had imagined. Margaret Wells, a former palace staff member who worked closely with both Diana and Anne, shared an intriguing revelation. She noted that Anne still keeps an old edition of the Times from August 1997 in her study at Gatcombe Park. The headline reads, "Diana calls for royal change." At the time, many dismissed Diana's words as overblown, yet in hindsight, it is clear she perceived shifts that others failed to recognize. William, destined to be king, has seamlessly blended royal tradition with modern sensibilities. Much like his mother, he married outside the aristocracy, choosing Catherine Middleton. Their approach to parenting mirrors Diana's vision, ensuring their children attend ordinary schools, partake in everyday activities, and express affection openly rather than maintaining an unyielding regal facade. Even a future king, Diana had always believed, should feel at ease with life's simplest moments. Harry's journey, however, veered in a drastically different direction. In 2020, he, alongside Meghan Markle, chose to step away from royal duties, a decision that sent shockwaves through the monarchy. Yet, Diana had anticipated such a possibility. In her letter to Anne, she spoke of the immense pressures associated with royal life and suggested that one of her sons might eventually prioritize personal freedom over duty. Royal historian Dr. Eleanor Bradford explains that while numerous family members openly criticized Harry's departure, and remained notably silent, neither condemning nor endorsing his choice. This quiet detachment mirrored precisely the stance Diana had predicted and would take. Diana had also warned that should the monarchy fail to evolve with the times, it risked losing its relevance. Recent events seem to confirm her fears. The world continues to change, and the rigid traditions of the past often clash with contemporary expectations. Even within the palace, there is now acknowledgement of this inevitable transformation. Interestingly, those who have worked closely with Princess Anne suggest that she has subtly adjusted her approach since Diana's passing. While she remains steadfast and dutiful in her royal obligations, she has played a role in streamlining the monarchy, reducing the number of active royals and allowing the younger generation more freedom. These reforms closely align with the very changes Diana had once envisioned. What are your thoughts on Princess Diana's secret letter to Anne? Do you believe her predictions were eerily accurate? Share your opinions in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe.